Okay, so you might be thinking, how do I get out of here? And by here, I mean probably United States if you're listening to this in English language, but you could be anywhere and you're thinking, how do I get out of here? Like, this is not working for me. I do not feel seen and supported, and I need an escape route. So I would suggest, so I've been living in Europe for over 5 years now. When I moved to Europe, you may have seen this in my previous videos, but I didn't know anyone. I didn't have a job. I didn't know the language of the country that I was moving to. I didn't even have a visa. I was just like, I want out and I need to figure out my way, right? So I did it the hard way. Doesn't mean that it was worse. It could have been better, but I did it the hard way. I went down the path unknown, and now I'm pulling back, reaching back for you all so that you can follow me and you don't have to go through everything that I went through. So the first thing I would do is figure out where you want to go. Okay, so there are a lot of things, like, we know this, right? Like, for the most part, we're adults, like, we get it. We get the ins and outs of adulthood. But you're going to want to look at some things, especially if you are looking at a country that you've never visited before. Like, you've seen it, you thought about it, you think that might be a nice place to live. First things first, before you even book a trip anywhere, I would say to take a look at the demographics of the place that you're moving to, right? Is it important for you to go to a place where you see people who look like you? For me personally, it is very important. So while I was living in Berlin, Berlin is an incredibly diverse city. Despite being in Germany, it's really an island within a country of creatives and collaborators and people from all over the world, and people also from Germany who look very different. When you go to other parts of Germany, you may not get the same thing, so keep that in mind. In Spain, it's a little bit less diverse, I would say. When I was in Tenerife, for sure, it is predominantly Spanish, right? Most of the people who know about Tenerife are Spanish. There were also a lot of tourists from Germany, France, Russia, but predominantly the demographics there were Spanish. Canarios. I did not, unfortunately, see a lot of people who look like me. So when I came to Malaga and I saw women at the club with their full afros, winding their hips, salsa dancing, I'm like, all right, like, maybe I could finally find a community in Spain, you know? So take a look at the city that you want to move to. Check out some of the Facebook groups if you're still on Facebook. I know, like, we want to get rid of it, but somehow we're stuck there. Look for some hashtags on social media. Go to social media and look at the location and see who's posting pictures. You know, just get a vibe. Get a vibe of the demographics, who you're going to see when you go there, what kind of community you might find if you are looking for one. If you are coming to another country, let's say with a family, or you're looking for work, you want to make sure that you're going to a place where you're going to have some options in that market. Now, it's amazing these days that, like, we're all working remotely. Some of us. Me. So I can work anywhere in the world, but unfortunately not everyone has that ability. So if you are looking for a role in a specific field, see if that is offered in the city that you're interested in living in. For me, I'm an English language writer, so the opportunities are not really going to be fruitful for me in non-English speaking countries. However, if you're interested in working in tourism, when I was in Tenerife, a majority of their income, the islands that is, came from tourism. In Malaga, it's much more city-based. So you can do the traditional English teaching role. This is a great in for anyone, like anyone who has ever traveled abroad or lived abroad. They know, like, English teaching is the bread and butter of English expats in any country. You can do this remotely. You can also look for a school if you're more interested in in-person interactions, but just check out what opportunities are available for you in that place. You're also going to look at the cost of living. That's very important. I mean, if you're coming from the United States, like, everything is probably going to be cheaper for you unless you're looking at London. In Spain, for me, from my personal perspective, the cost of living is very low. For the people who are from Spain, They don't think so, right? Everything is going to be rising. We're in a situation where no matter what, we have different reasons that contribute to the rise in cost of living. So it's incredibly affordable. You can find a 2-bedroom in the city for about 800 euro. I'm just telling you what you can find on apartment search sites. And I will put some here just in case you need some tips if you're looking for a place in Spain, whether or not you're moving from abroad or not. So there's a lot of things that you might want to look at. What area of the city do you want to live in because you have kids and you want to consider what school they're going to? Luckily in Spain, they are used to receiving English speakers, maybe not so much from the United States, mostly from the UK. So there are a lot of English language schools. So if that's something that you're concerned about, there are options available. The country is foreign, but it doesn't have to feel foreign, right? Like no matter where you go, you undoubtedly should, hopefully, if you do a little bit of research beforehand, you should be able to find a community and services that work for you. And so now that you've kind of taken a look at all of the things, you know, the weather and all of these things, I would definitely recommend next is to plan a trip to visit. So like, don't make plans to uproot your life like I did. I mean, I did visit first, of course, but don't just think like, well, she did it, I can do it. I visited Berlin 4 times on 4 separate occasions before deciding to move. Before coming to Malaga, I stayed here for over a month, and that was my 3rd trip. So then on the 4th trip, I moved. So things can look amazing on paper. You could look at all of these statistics that you looked up, and it fits perfectly for what you're looking for. And then you get there and you're just like, I hate it. I would never want to live here, you know? Some people prefer the city life. Some people prefer something a bit quieter. For me, I think in any Spanish place that you go to, you can find what you're looking for. Even if you go to a place and the city is the draw, you just have to take a 15-minute car ride, 20, 30-minute train ride, and you're in a place that's still accessible to the city, but it's a little bit more quiet. You have a little bit more space. It's a little bit more peaceful. So don't just stick to the inner city of any place that you want to move to. Don't just say, okay, well, in these parameters, this is what I have to work with. You can still move a little bit out. For example, in Malaga, there's a place called Torremolinos. A little bit further than that is Fuengirola. There's a city in between. So even if you say, hey, I really like this place, make sure that you plan enough time for your visit to explore a little bit further out, because you never know that maybe the original place that you came to visit wasn't quite it. But if you look a little bit further out, you'll find something that's the perfect fit. So just don't give up so easily, you know? Like, it might not hit you at first, but sometimes, you know, with a little bit of ducking and diving, you can find the perfect fit for you. So now that you've done this, you visited however many times you decide, okay, this is a place for me. You're gonna wanna sort out your immigration. Yes, you're an immigrant now. Whee! And we go, whee! I'm an immigrant, you're an immigrant, we're all immigrants. Yes, you have to take a look at the procedures of how you can legally remain in said country. So every country is different. Most European countries, I'm not sure about the UK right now because they're no longer in the EU, but you can stay in this place for 90 days. Then you need to leave for a certain amount of time. You can't just add 90 days on top of that. So what I have found, and I also did another video about this that I pulled from my last YouTube channel so that you can have it and see it and watch it in detail. It's a way more in-depth process of how I got my residency in Spain. Tip number 1 that I will pull from the other video is you have to do it in the United States. Yeah, when I was in Berlin, I could do the residency process in Berlin and didn't have to travel back to the US. But for Spain, you have to submit your residency request from your country of origin. So like, don't pick up and move, because then you're gonna have to go back. That's what I did. So I'm trying to save you some miles. Unless you like miles, then that's also great. But I'm trying to save you some time. So wherever you're coming from, unless it's within the European Union, and you guys know this, you don't need to have any kind of residency to move around. If you're coming from a country outside of the European Union, you're gonna wanna get that residency on lock before you come. The process probably takes like 1 month. And then you can get your residency card in the place that you have applied for residency. I don't know why, don't ask. You've done that, yes. I've given you some places to look for apartments, yes. So, honey, like we're on our way. We're on our way to a life free of, I was just envisioning Mitch McConnell, so, okay, so we're free. We're out of the country, and this applies for all countries within Europe. I'm coming from a European perspective. You know, maybe you want to go to South America, maybe you want to go to Asia. These all have completely different rules and regulations. Please look them up beforehand, even if you want to move to Spain. Like, I've gone through it, but you know, like you might just want to double check for your own personal comfort and assurances that you have everything that you need. So in my previous video, I talked about the fact that you will definitely need a different residency for whatever it is that you're deciding to do. So for me, I'm on a non-lucrative visa, which means that I'm not authorized to work in Spain. So if you were looking to work in the country that you would like to move to, more times than not, you're going to have that job secured before you can even apply for the residency. So you're going to want to secure some kind of work contract. If you're working for an international company, and it doesn't matter, you don't necessarily need to register yourself as a employee of the country that you're moving to. Perfect. You know, you get your residency just to live and you're golden. So now that you've sorted out all of the paperwork and all of the non-fun stuff, and you've transferred over your water and your electricity, and you know, you've registered yourself at the ayuntamiento and all of these really fun things that you do after you move to a new country. Now that you're there, it's time to party, okay? So it's time to get out and explore the place that you have moved to. I love living in Malaga because there's so many different museums, there's so many different things that you can do here. They have concerts, if not in Malaga center, then in another city nearby. You can go to Marbella, it's about 30 minutes away. They have a lot of concerts there. So make sure that you're living in a place that supports the needs that you want. So if you are looking for culture, if you're looking for restaurants, if you're looking for dancing, then you're definitely going to make sure that you're in the place or in close proximity to the place that you want to be. If you just like to nap, you can do that anywhere, basically. But in future videos, I'm going to be showing you a little bit about the fun side of Malaga. So thank you for watching this one, your introductory to how to get out of whatever situation it is that you want to get out of. But it's going to be some really fun stuff as well. So let's explore the city together. It doesn't mean you have to move here, but I think maybe afterwards you might want to.